Jingi Yi meets the kitchen guardian. During the Ming Dynasty, there was a gentleman who lived in Jiangxi named Mr. Yu. He was talented and knowledgeable. He always scored well on his exams. At age 18, he passed the exam and became a scholar approved by the government. During his middle age, Mr. Yi was still poor. He did some tutoring to support his family. He also set up a Wengchang society with his school friends to practice the virtuous conducts written in the Yingzhi article, such as showing respect to paper that has words on it, cherishing lives by freeing captive animals, abstaining from immoral sexual conduct, refraining from killing, lying, swearing, and indecent intents. The article mentions, as long as one does many good deeds and accumulates virtue, heaven will surely bestow fortune. Mr. Yi conducted himself this way for many years, but it seems like he had not received any fortune. He took 7 government exams, yet never received a placement. He had 5 sons, 4 died, and 1 was missing at the age of 8. The missing boy had 2 birthmarks under his left foot when he was born. He was very bright and cute. Mr. Yi and his wife were very fond of the son, but they couldn't find him. They also gave birth to 4 girls. 3 of them had passed away, and only 1 was still alive. Due to these repeated, devastating blows, his wife wept in sorrow and became blind. Mr. Yi's family circumstances became increasingly difficult. He introspected and believed that he did not commit any big mistake in behaving. Why does heaven give him such a heavy punishment? It seems like heaven has not blessed him at all. At age 40, he wrote his first declaration and asked the kitchen guardian to deliver it to the heaven ruler. In ancient China, people believe there is a guardian hidden in the kitchen stove who watches over the family and reports all good and evil to the heaven. Therefore, some people will worship this kitchen guardian with prayer at the end of each lunar year. Mr. Yi had done that every year since his first declaration, but received no response until 7 years later. He was 47, and on the eve of the new year, he sat with his wife and daughter face to face in misery. Looking around the house, it was utterly desolate and bleak. Suddenly, they heard someone knocking. Mr. Yi lit up a candle and opened the door. He saw a man with a big scarf on his head, wearing a black robe, looking to be in his 50s or 60s. This man politely greeted Mr. Yi and introduced himself. "My name is Zhang, and I come home from far away. I passed by your doorway and heard sighs of worry, so I purposely came to comfort you." Mr. Yi wondered, "I am now poor and destitute. Why would someone come to comfort me? Particularly tonight on New Year's Eve when all families are gathered together. Who will be free to come to my house and offer comfort?" Thus he was full of appreciation and led him into the house. Mr. Yi also saw that his appearance and the way he spoke was not mundane, and so was very respectful to him. He described to the gentleman the circumstances of his life. "My life studies, teaching, and the cultivation of morality all have no big faults. Why is it that I still haven't obtained a government rank? Unable to keep my family safe, so many of my children died young. Even to the point of lacking clothes and food, just living is a problem. These years, on every New Year's Eve, I always burned a declaration to heaven in front of the kitchen guardian. I still remember the declarations I wrote. I can repeat them to you now." The old man stopped him and said, "You needn't say more. I know your family situation quite well. In the declarations you burned in front of the kitchen guardian every year are all words of complaint about everyone and everything but yourself. The malice in your thoughts is too heavy. When you think, there is too much unkindness." What you do is only superficial with no real intention of repenting. Since you disrespect the heaven ruler in such an insincere way, I am afraid the punishment you will get will be more than this. There can possibly be even larger disasters to follow. Mr. Yi was surprised to hear that. He defended himself. I heard that without us being aware, ghosts and gods are monitoring us. Even tiny deeds of good are detected by these spirits. I participated in the Wenchang Society for so many years, vowing with my classmates to strive to do good deeds. The rules in Wenchang Society are like commandments. Everyone must follow them. I am also conducting myself as taught, not violating. How can this be superficial? The old man pointed out all his fake behaviors one by one. In your rules, there are statements about respecting literature and cherishing paper with writing on it. Since there is this provision, you should behave accordingly. Yet, you still tear out old books and use sheets of articles to paste windows. When you see your students and members using papers of articles to paste windows, wrap goods, or even wipe the table with it, you never give them the reason for not doing so. You never once stop them. Except for the occasion when you see papers of articles on the street, you would pick them up and burn them to show that you are not desecrating literature. Isn't this doing something for show? Isn't it just superficial? As for cherishing lives, you would follow your members in the society to free captured animals every month. However, you only do it when others do so. If they don't, then you don't. Is your heart really merciful? Do you really want to save lives? Or is it simply seeing others act and following of it? If no one else does it, you just simply forget about it. Without giving your best effort, you are really not following. Look at it, there are shrimps and crabs in your kitchen. You still capture these creatures and eat their flesh. Aren't they living lives to you? Externally, you label yourself as a compassionate man, but in your heart, you have no real compassionate feelings. That is because Mr. Yu has been fishing quite often. In other words, he has been killing numerous living lives. The old man continued, lying, talking offensively, talking others into quarrels, and misleading others with suggestive or seductive words. You have actually committed all these. Because you have a desire to win, unwilling to concede to others, thus, when talking with friends, you refuse to back down. You are good at being sarcastic and saying inconsiderate things. Skillful at crafting your words, all those who listen are subdued by you. You even pride yourself in being a capable speaker. You have the ability to out-debate others and defy logic. Even unreasonable things you can talk into seeming reasonable. Your arrogance and indecent speeches keep irritating the spirits and making people mad. Who are you trying to cheat by labeling yourself as a good person? Do you think the heavenly beings will be fooled by you? Your inconsideration of others is a big flaw. Thankfully, you still have a bit of conscience, knowing that your words are too harsh, defying the spirit of kindness. This bit of conscience will be the chance where you can begin to turn disaster into fortune if you repent sincerely. You do not know to examine your shortcomings, still believing that you have a good conscience and are a good person. You are deceiving no one but yourself only. Regarding the provision to abstain from immoral sexual conduct, although you have not committed such acts, but if there happens to be some situation, you'll give rise to evil thoughts. When you see a sexy woman, you kept your eyes on her and give rise to 30 thoughts. Nowadays, sexual images and immorality have destroyed people's well-being. Many teenagers masturbate themselves secretly and lead to poor health. All these are only rules set by your Wonchang society, and you can't even follow them. Beyond these, there is even less to say. The kitchen guardian did submit your declaration to the heaven ruler every year. The heaven lord does care about you. He sent daytime messengers to observe you daily, but throughout these years you did not manage to have one true kind deed to record. You still have greed, lust, jealousy, arrogance, thoughts of looking down on people, narrow-mindedness, a short temper, recalling the past, daydreaming of the future, and holding vengeful thoughts. These vain thoughts, evil thoughts, are entwined firmly in your mind, never pausing. You just pretend to act and speak benevolently. These unkind thoughts in your mind have not changed at all. You don't even have time to escape the disaster these thoughts have created. What fortune can you possibly ask for? Mr. Yi cried out, "Since you know so well the unkind thoughts hidden in my mind and have revealed them all, you must be a supernatural being, absolutely unordinary. I beg you to save me, please." The old man replied, "You are a scholar, well learned in reason and also known to admire kind actions and words and take joy in them. When you hear kind words, you are also merry. Seeing kind deeds, you are also encouraged. The problem is that you just forget it afterwards. The reason to this is because your faith in doing good is shallow. Your habit of cultivating good has not formed yet. Thus, you have no patience to persist your well. Without having long-term determination and endurance, you are easily affected by external circumstances. That is why the kind words and actions in your life are all half-hearted. 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, all on the surface. Not one deed was done earnestly with total effort and sincerity. Also, the unkind intentions in your mind rise and fall without pause. Instead of inspecting your insufficient, you blame the heaven for not granting you the fortune. Think for yourself. This is as if your field has only weeds planted, yet you hope to harvest good rice. How can it be possible? This does not fit with causality, cause and effect. After analyzing all his problems, the gentleman started to teach him how he can counteract his fate. You must stop evil and accumulate good, grow your modesty and virtue, and correct your shortcomings. If you strive and work hard, earnestly and sincerely, you will surely be better in half a year. In 3 years, you will definitely get a response. Mr. Yi finally realized that destiny is created by oneself. You reap what you sow, so to speak. Do not blame others. As long as one can transform his thoughts, one can create for himself a new destiny. From now on, whenever you have greed, lust, falseness, insincerity, and other deluded thoughts, you must diligently repent and focus your mind on decent thoughts only. This is easy to say, but hard to do at the beginning. You must be mentally prepared that these thoughts do arise since you are used to give rise to these thoughts for the past years. Do not fear the rise of doubts. Just be aware so you will only focus on the good side. This will weaken those mirages and deluded thoughts in your mind. Mr. Yi asked, "My sins and bad habits really are deep. How should I transform myself and form good habits?" The old man taught him, "You must keep your mind totally clean, focusing all your concentration on what is kind. Do good deeds without expecting rewards or appraisal. Regard doing good deeds and helping others as my own obligation, as what I should do. Whether it is a big deal or minor, hard or easy, I would do it sincerely with patience. If people do not appreciate my effort, it is okay. Do not dwell on it. Do not let it make you think that doing good deeds or being a good person is not worth it. Even if other people reciprocate me with hate, I would not mind. As long as it is righteous and kind, I will earnestly do it without hesitation. Every day, every year, every life, or even as far as wishing that every single life, I will thus do. Even for those good deeds that I am currently incapable of, I will still remain this kind thought and hope to accomplish them one day when the condition has matured." First, you must be patient. Have the strength to endure all the hardships that you will encounter on your road to success. Only patience will last you till the end. Secondly, you must always persist on your goal. You absolutely cannot relax and become lazy, since every effort you made is one step near success. In other words, you must constantly improve yourself with on and on practices until you are fully capable of reaching your goal. You must be honest to yourself in doing so. Do not deceive yourself as well as others. Anytime, anywhere, no matter what you encounter, whether favorable or adverse, you must follow these guidelines and strive to carry them out earnestly. Bit by bit, as you accumulate more and more virtue, you will achieve your great wish gradually. If your strength and ability is insufficient, simply do as much as you can. Although your strength and ability is not great enough to fulfill the whole task, in your heart you must still give your fullest. As you keep on practicing and improving yourself, positive effects will come naturally beyond your expectations. I know you have burned incense and made offerings to the kitchen guardian on every 1st and 15th of the month, and did it with sincerity and respect. Due to your sincere respect, I am here to explain your situation so you would know how to behave yourself and change your own destiny. From now on, you must strive to correct yourself by forming good habits and cultivate good deeds as sincere as possible. This will change your future fate. Then the old man walked into the kitchen and disappeared. Only now did Mr. Yi realize that it was the manifestation of the kitchen guardian. On the next day, Mr. Yi made a New Year resolution vowing to get rid of all his indecent intents and bad deeds. He changed his name to Pure Mind Yi to remind himself to stay sincere and pure without any evil thoughts. However, as he started to reform himself, all kinds of thoughts rose and seized in his mind, influencing his will. Many times he either hesitated or was lazy. These bad habits kept delaying his progress. After a period of time, he still had no significant improvement. Mr. Yi reflected upon himself critically, resolving to try his hardest. He even made a vow in front of Guanyin Bodhisattva, promising to work hard so his good wills would always remain strong and his strength in doing good would improve greatly. He alerted himself critically that if he ever allowed himself to get lazy, he would end up in hell forever. Ever since then, Mr. Yi's every word, every action, thought, and moment was spent as if ghosts and gods were next to him watching. He dared not deceive anybody. He paid full attention to his behavior, correct himself immediately with no hesitation. He dared not relax his discipline. This high self-alertness is the key to why he is able to succeed in the future to turn around his destiny. Every day in the early morning, Mr. Yi would come in front of the Guanyin statue and sincerely recite the merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva's name 100 times, hoping his prayer would bless him to stand strong on his will. Whatever that can benefit people and the environment, no matter if it was big or small, whether he was busy or free, whether others knew about it or not, Mr. Yi would always work on it happily, doing it earnestly with endurance and a kind manner. He didn't care if it's a difficult task, he just did his best, trying to accomplish the good deed. He didn't worry whether the good deed would always work out perfectly either. He simply gave all he can afford and be happy that he had done his part wholeheartedly. He only thought of whether a cause should be done or not thinking of whether it would cost him time and energy. That's how he lived his life every day, always improve himself so he would have enough wisdom and well-disciplined self-control to handle the people and the matters that he had encountered during each day. Besides doing his best, he also encouraged people to learn well. He would teach people about ethics, such as how we can watch our attitude so we could get along with people around us, how we should learn diligently so we would be wise and capable, how we should stay humble for it is a virtue that brings benefits to many people including ourselves, how we should endure hardship so we have patience to last till success, how we should understand the principle of cause and its effect so we know how to solve the problem effectively from its cause. Hoping people would not make the same mistake he did, Mr. Yi tirelessly shared all he had learned. He was only afraid that he did not give his total effort. At the end of every month, he came before the kitchen guardian and reported the kindnesses he had cultivated through his actions, speech, and thoughts. This monthly report had motivated him to move on. He continued to do as much as he was able to do, with a merry heart, giving his best intent and effort. As days passed by, Mr. Yi's cultivation of his character and virtue gradually became well practiced. When he was active, he held many kind thoughts, and when he was free and sat quietly, his mind was pure without a thought. He practiced this way for 3 years. The response finally came. When Mr. Yi attended the government exam at the age of 50, it was invigilated by a prime minister named Zhang. The prime minister wanted to find his son a teacher who was learned and virtuous. Everyone recommended Mr. Yi. Thus, Mr. Yi was hired to teach at the prime minister's home. He brought his family with him to the capital. With this stable job, his living condition also improved, not as poor and difficult as before. Prime Minister appreciated Mr. Yi's morality and knowledge, so he recommends Mr. Yi and helped enroll him in the National Academy. In the fourth year of Wan Li calendar in Ming Dynasty, Mr. Yi took part in the provincial exam and passed. A year later, he passed the national exam and had qualified to become a government official. One day, Mr. Yi formally visited eunuch Yang. Yang called out his 5 foster sons to greet Mr. Yi. Among them was a 16-year-old boy. At first sight, Mr. Yi felt this boy looked familiar, as if he had met him before. So Mr. Yi asked him, "Where are you from?" The boy seemed to remember his hometown and his original family name. The boy replied, "When I was young, I left home to play. I entered someone's grain transportation boat by mistake. As the boat sailed off, I was also carried away." Mr. Yi was very surprised to hear this. Thus he asked the boy to take off his left shoe. The boy agreed. There they were. He did have 2 very prominent moles on his foot. "Oh, you're my son!" Mr. Yi cried out. Yang saw that the father and son had reunited. He was also quite touched. Therefore, he was pleased to return the boy back to Mr. Yi. Mr. Yi quickly took the boy to his wife and reported this incident. The family that had been separated for so many years was finally reunited. Mother and son hugged together in tears. The son was very loving to his parents. Seeing that the blind eyes of his mother were still weeping, he held up his mother's face and lapped her eyes. The appreciation and love made a miracle happen. Mrs. Yi's eyes became no longer blind. At that moment, Mr. Yi realized his repentance and reformation in the past 3 years turned out exactly as the kitchen guardian had told him, an unimaginable response. What he could not have expected really happened at last. From then on, he became less and less interested in worldly matters. He no longer wanted to be an official. Thus he bade farewell to Prime Minister Zhang and returned to his hometown with his whole family. Minister Zhang admired his virtue. Before Mr. Yi left, he paid Mr. Yi a generous amount of money to thank him for being his son's teacher. There, back in his hometown, with even more sincerity and devotion, Mr. Yi continued to accumulate merit and practice good deeds. Mr. Yi had 7 grandsons, all of them healthy, good at studying, and were famous later. Not only Mr. Yi lived until he was 88 years old, the fortunes of his sons and grandchildren also turned good. All his sons and grandsons were well known for their virtuous personality and achievements. Mr. Yi's longevity, same as his fortune, was all the result of his cultivation after age 47. For us, people of the world, this is indeed the best role model to learn from. The people of his village saw what Mr. Yi had received in his life. They all said that it was his great effort in doing good deeds that changed his fate. Mr. Yi was very unfortunate not to know earlier what he had done wrong, yet also very fortunate to finally have the chance to realize his mistake before it is too late. He only changed his ways to practice good at age 47 and received a response at 50. Therefore, it is never too late to correct ourselves. These are results reaped from building merit and practicing good.